Welcome, everyone. This is the third session in the Royal Television Society's Esports Broadcasting Colloquium. Thank you for joining us today to hear from Guillaume Neveu from EVS. The first session of this series, we heard from Stephen Jalisi, otherwise known as Claw, who spoke to us about ESL gaming and live streaming to millions of fans around the world and esports for broadcasters. The second session, we heard from Paul Martin from Vecima, which is a CDN company. And that was a deep dive into OTT and CDN delivery for live esports. And today we're hearing from Guillaume Neveu from EVS, who will wrap up the three-part series. So I'll hand over to Guillaume. Guillaume will speak for about 40 minutes, and then we'll open the floor up for a Q&A. So as you hear the presentation, please continue to ask questions in the Q&A, and the chat is also open if there's any feedback on the chat. So a very warm welcome to Guillaume Neveu. I'll hand over to him now. Thank you, Guillaume.
Thanks, Anna, and hello to everyone. I'm pleased to share with you at least the experience we have at EVS in regards of esports and gaming. It's something we are taking care of since 4 years now at EVS. And so we are keep learning from this market and new ways of producing, and I will try to share the most I can with you. I will start with a small agenda. I'll try to make this presentation clear and fast to leave some Q&A time. I will start with some figures and how we can compare that with the traditional broadcast market. Payout, digital and broadcast. Very often, at least last couple of years, we very often could hear the opposition between linear and broadcast and traditional broadcast, and we'll see how esports tackle that. And specifics about production in live production for esports. It comes with its own specifics, and once again I'll try to give the more information I can about that. So let's start with esports and figures. So I believe it's important to understand what represent the audience in terms of esports, because we hear very often a lot of numbers. And here, for example, we can see that it's an estimation for 2020 that we will almost reach 500 million audience. What is interesting is to see the growth, the growth and how it is evolving over the years, and the estimation for 2023. Well, we can see that they still anticipate a growth. And it's also, this slide is also interesting because we see occasional viewers and esport enthusiastic, and both it's growing, and we can definitely make parallels between traditional live sports and in terms of sport enthusiasts and occasional viewers. It's very common. It could be compared easily. So here we are still talking about good numbers and big numbers, but it's interesting also to understand what is behind a viewer of esports, and I'm trying to describe that later on. But we can already see that there is some good numbers, still good growth, almost nearly 10% every year. And this, of course, have an impact in terms of the quality of production they will try to do, the the financial aspect, all this is finance and so on. Another figures that is good to link with that is the final of League of Legends in 2019, which happened in Paris. It was more than 100 million people who watch the League of Legends championship. So it's not just the final, but the complete the championship. But for final, the Accor Hotel Arena, so the venue that was used in Paris, was full of 15,000 fans inside the venue. And also, what is interesting to see is the average minute audience of nearly 22 millions, and with peak of concurrent viewers of 44 millions. If we compare that, for example, to a Super Bowl is 100 million. Of course, it's not during one game, but we can see that we are reaching numbers that are very comparable to some sports. And the main aspect of that is because the way it is published, the content is published, is made available. It is very easy for viewers to connect, to watch. It's very often free to view. I mean, so everything is made to encourage people to view the content. But nevertheless, it's still an audience that is quite well deep into the game. In terms of League of Legends, if some of you have ever tried to watch on Twitch or YouTube Gaming a play of League of Legends, if you have never played to the game, it's very difficult to understand what is going on and so on. So it could be very comparable to some sports such as cricket, or if you don't know the rules, it's difficult to follow. Here we'll find the same mechanism, and all this audience means that all those numbers means that the people who are watching are educated about this game. So potentially and more certainly players as well. So it's a big community, and they lack themselves community. They have their codes. It's of course also a young audience, and it's important to catch what is behind all those numbers, of course, as the kind of viewers. Other figures is the revenue, of course, of this industry. For the first time, they anticipate that in 2020 they will reach the billion in terms of revenue. It's quite encouraging, especially if you look at the figures that they anticipate for 2023, where it will be almost 1.5 billion. It means that this industry is generating cash. It's also an industry who started from nearly zero. So over the 20 years or 15 years that it started, they accomplished something that is quite remarkable, this is why we see more and more people looking at this industry, investing in this industry. Maybe you have followed how, for example, some players or clubs are now investing in esports. Last example is David Beckham, who took some shares and invested in a club of esports, a team, and you have even clubs such as Paris Saint-Germain or Bayern Munich or Falcon 4 in Germany, who invested in teams of esports for several years now. So people believe that this industry can keep growing, and it's a good investment to make. And the main reason for that is because there is, once again, big community, a large number of viewers, and this is the kind of audience that everybody wants to catch, because this is the youngest generation, and everybody knows that if you can reach this audience, you have more chance to keep them captive for the rest during their life, and if you can associate your brand to this audience during these kind of events, you have good chance to make them qualitative audience. Another figures that is interesting from my perspective, and especially if you relate that to our industry, is how it is financed at the end. And we can see that sponsorship and media rights are now the first source of revenue for this market. It has not been like that all the time, but now it is. And I have some examples of how brands did adapt to this specific ecosystem to make sure that it fits with the audience, it's accepted by the audience, and I believe they did a very good job. And that's something the broadcast industry also could learn from. And they are selling more and more rights. Traditional broadcasters are now buying more and more rights. They want to also catch this audience, obviously, and they are creating their own esports channel. I will come back to that later on. But once again, those two sources of revenue are interesting to see where we are now, and what are the business model that is taking as a direction now. So one example, for example, of sponsoring that has been very well managed is MASTERCARD. So when you look at first at this kind of association between a credit card brand and this community, you could think that, yeah, why make this specific move? And obviously, this community, this audience, consume a lot to buy on internet. So they are paying a lot. They are doing micro payments with their games. So a lot of games are free to play. But if you want to have a new weapon or new skin, you want specific features, additional options, more capability into the game, you will buy $1 somewhere, $1 here, $1 there, and they are doing a lot of micro payment. And of course, their way of spending their money goes through a credit card. So it's a very good move from MasterCard, and the way they thought how to do it and how to integrate that in the League of Legends game is that they did ad insertion, which is somehow not new, because in cinema or in web series, broadcast series, it has been done several times. Here it's interesting, but also what is interesting is to see how they went and how they integrated that in order also not to have an impact on the players. So those advertisements are only for the viewers, and the gamers who are playing don't see them, so they are not impacted by those advertisements, and they can really focus on the game. And I think it's interesting to see the capabilities and how they thought what would be the best effective way to do that. And it's for me a good example to share. Another good example to share is DHL with ESL. They created this partnership. I think it's 1 or 2 years ago. Once again, it's a good move for DHL because though this community is buying a lot on internet, as I said, and they get delivered very often at home. If they need a new keyboard, a new screen, a new PC or whatever, they get delivered at home, and DHL cash that. They anticipate the fact that this audience is very important for them to catch. And what is interesting to see actually is that I encourage you to read the article, Forbes article from June 2019, where you will see where they explain how DHL and ESL created the most memorable esports sponsorship ever, because actually during a final of, I think it was Overwatch, or I don't remember the name of the game, but actually when the DHL brand was displayed on the screen, you can hear the crowd inside the venue scanning DHL, 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 and it's not just because we ask them to do so, because it's the kind of community you cannot ask them to do something if they don't want to do it. It's just because they did a very effective job to associate the brand within the game, with the players, to make some trailers with a specific character of the game, and actually the audience really adopt the DHL brand. And you can find also some videos on the net on how the audience is reacting to the brand, and it's quite interesting also to see how they manage to do that. So here we are talking about big brands, MasterCard, DHL. I know Mercedes as well did a partnership with ESL, League of Legends, Riot. So the game owner of League of Legends also did sign good contract with some good sponsors. And we are talking about good numbers as well in terms of revenue. It's really growing. And once again, the sponsors really see the value in terms of return on investment regarding the audience they want to catch, thanks to that. So here again, something that maybe it could be interesting for the broadcast industry to observe and to see how we could adapt to also take advantage of their approach. If we are talking now more specifically about the difference in terms of how this content is published over a digital or traditional broadcast, the two main digital platforms that are used are Twitch and YouTube gaming. Here is the interface of Twitch. It's very dense. The main thing that is the big advantage, I would say, regarding the digital platform is that on the right column, you can see that there is a chat column, and people are chatting during the game live. So fans can really interact between each other. They can comment, they can share their what they feel directly. The traditional TV obviously do not offer that. And that's why also the community really love to watch their games live on digital platform. So both Twitch and YouTube gaming are promoting the same thing. It's free to watch if you want. You will have advertising, but you could also have a subscription model of $5 per month, depending on the option. They have more complex offering afterwards, but the basic one is this. And as you already heard or know, Twitch is part of Amazon. It has been acquired in 2014. So there is a big Amazon behind that, a big GAFA behind that, and they are investing a lot on the user interface, on making sure that the viewers keep interacting, follow the game, can select whatever game they want to watch, and also can collect any kind of complementary content related to the play that is ongoing. So this is Twitch, then YouTube gaming, a little bit different in terms of UI, but still this live chat on the right. As I said, as I mentioned, that is very important. All the statistics, of course, related to the game, the map as on Twitch, and so on and so on. Here again, you can decide to watch it for free, but you still have a subscription fee of less than $4, a little bit less than $4 if you want to pay. What is interesting, I did not mention about Twitch, and the main difference between YouTube gaming and Twitch is the number of hours watched. Here on Twitch, I came back on Twitch. It was estimated in January 2020. It has been estimated 842 million hours of watch on Twitch. On YouTube gaming, it's less than half of numbers of hours watch. So we can still see that Twitch is the big player. YouTube gaming is doing more and more. They try to be inventive and creating more technical advantages in terms of UHD support or stuff like that. But Twitch still remains the main preferred platform for gamers to watch their live content. Of course, as I mentioned, and this is the topic of today, is to also mention what is done in the broadcast industry and the traditional broadcasters. And we will see that later on. But what is important to understand is that they have specific person key in terms of doing the storytelling. And so here I will explain a little bit the role of a caster, for example. It could be easily compared to a traditional commentator, a sport commentator. Here I pick up the example of a UK lady, actually, which is very famous. So yeah, commentating during the live, during the eSport live event. They can be on stage or they can do it remotely. They need a very good knowledge of the game. Very often they were ex-pros or very skilled players, and they really need to understand the game, anticipate what is ongoing, what will happen, and they will really be the storyteller of the in their language, because you need to understand that in a live event such as League of Legends, most of the time is cast over multiple language. So if you are Brazilian, you will be able to follow the game, what is ongoing, with a Brazilian caster in Brazilian. And they have that in every language. So they have this mechanism where caster will, of course, comment what is ongoing permanently during the game. They will also reinforce the intensity or the drama of what is going on, and it will be in your own language. So actually, as a viewer, you will pick up the caster and the language you want in order to follow your live. And it is very interesting because here again, it's something that you will find that is very equivalent to the traditional sport, when a Premier League game will be available in France with a French commentator, of course, and it's very similar to this approach. But what is interesting also is that they can either be involved at the league level, or as independent. And you have some casters, independent casters, who will just rebroadcast the stream, restream the live and comment, and they can become famous just like this because the intensity they put in the commentary and so on makes a difference, and they can have millions of followers. So it is a key role in the sport and e-gaming community. And the other role that is very important also is the role of a streamer. Here it's a little bit different. It's not necessarily during a live. It's more a gamer that has a lot of experience and skills who will play himself, for example, to League of Legends or Counter-Strike and so on, give some tips, but he can also comment some specific party or play. And his role is to create a community. It's like a YouTuber specific to e-gaming and esports. They can earn a lot of money. The example of Ninja, for example, can earn at some point in his life, I don't know if it's still the case, but a good monthly pay, as you can see on the slide, and have reached 22 million followers on YouTube. So that's the kind of popularity you can get just as a streamer. So those guys are not even the pro players. They are just people who are restreaming something, add their commentary or their vision or what they think or their knowledge or share their knowledge and become very famous into that space. And they are playing a key role in this industry. I believe that without casters and streamers, the popularity of e-gaming and esports wouldn't have reached those levels. And the main reason is because each game is very specific, very complex. If you don't play yourself, and even if you play yourself, it goes very fast, and you can miss some parts if you are not very concentrated, or if you don't have enough knowledge for that. And streamers and casters are here to help, and once again are making it more affordable to people, and that's how they participate in growing the community. So I believe it was important to notice that and share that with you. Regarding the traditional broadcasters, since several years, traditional broadcasters of channels are creating their own esports channel. Most of the time, it was traditional sports channels who also added esports channels. Once again, it's mainly to catch a new audience. It's part of packages. The role is to associate this audience who sometimes could also watch other kind of sports, and it's with the ability to watch the content on any kind of support, because it's a key element for this community. So, but they come here with their expertise and knowledge by providing experienced commentators, so casters, and they try to be innovative and and very often are very successful also. It is not, of course, if you compare that to the other source of revenue, it's not where they're making the most of their money. It's something that is key in terms of strategy, because once again, if they can catch this audience, this young audience, and keep them in order to inside their environments and as subscribers, they anticipate that later on maybe those people will be faithful with the brand and so on. And it's just in terms of a strategy, of course. One point that is quite interesting also to notice is that during COVID-19, the only live available was on esports. and for those channels who did invested in an esport channel, they were able to distribute and publish live content thanks to esports. So a lot of them were very glad to have invested in such a thing, just by the fact that they were able to distribute live content, which was a key factor during COVID-19 crisis and still ongoing on some countries. Esport and production. Production in esports, at the end, it's like you could easily compare it to traditional sport. They need replays, they need slow-mo, they need highlight edits, match recaps, analysis, studios, commentators, casters in this case, national and international takers, flash zone. They need pretty much everything that a traditional sport will put in place. However, they have some specificities. The main specificity is that they don't necessarily need use in their camera map only broadcast camera. A lot of their sources are coming from the screen of the players. 80% of the content coming during an esports tournament or championship comes from what is produced by the player itself and the teams or whatever. So the source is digital. So you need to collect either the gaming engine output or the screen from the player, and this will create your camera sources. And of course, this generates some technical constraints, especially if you need to do slow motion, because you don't have a traditional slow motion camera. So you need to adapt the stream coming from the PC or the screen of the player in order to recreate this slow motion. And that's something we were happy to generate and create in cooperation with ESL a couple of years back, especially on some games such as Counter-Strike, where it goes very fast. On other games where it's more slower, it's not necessary. But on Counter-Strike, it's very, kind of a shooting games, it's very important to have some replays and slow modes. And that's the kind of specificities we had to create. But at the end, we are using traditional equipments. We are using our traditional LSM box to do the slow modes. The other thing that is interesting also to mention is the video switcher, which needs to be very flexible, because the size of the screens, I'll come back to that later on. Side of the screens are not don't comes with regular aspect ratios. But I will detail that later on. Here is an example of slow motion we did create for ESL for Counter-Strike. So I will play the video. So here you have an headshot that will happen on a real during the live. This goes very, very fast. If you are not a trained gamer, or if you don't play yourself, it's difficult to catch how fast some scenes. Because it's very fast. And here, thanks to slow motion like that, the audience can review a specific headshot or specific action, and it's very, very appreciated by the community. One thing that is also very different is the role of what they call an observer. An observer, actually the in-game director. It could also be an inside cameraman inside the game, or a replay operator. And they have to watch the live, they have to watch the screens of the players, they have to watch the program stream, and they need to select and create actually create the the story during the live. So you can have multiple observers per game, and they have different roles. Some will focus more on the director roles. Others will be more focused on catching the best angles from the different players. In the case of Counter-Strike, you have a team of maybe 5 players against another team of 5 players. So you have 10 potential views that you need to collect and go and display on air if you want. So you need to pick up the right one. And once again, they are very experienced in the game, and they are the one who will select and suggest what needs to go on air. It's a very specific role that we find only in esports. In terms of graphics, as I started to mention earlier on, the aspect ratio is a key element in esports and in gaming, because especially in esports, because in venues they are using a lot of LED screens to display what is going on, of course, but also each character of the team will have its own representation. If one player dies during the game, they would change the color of the photo of the player that is on the LED screen, each player having its own one. And this is done automatically, so we need to trigger some macros combined to the gaming engine to process that automatically. The scenic inside the venue is very important. The lights are also triggered by some what is happening on the game when there is an explosion or things like that, and that's where the vision mixer gets very important and needs a lot of flexibility. And thanks to our technology, we are actually providing a kind of a magic wand for that to them in order to achieve all that, because all our vision mixer is based on software, so we can do pretty much whatever we want, and we are offering them a lot of flexibility. Another aspect which is quite important is about the monetization, because as I mentioned earlier on, your live can go in can be available in many countries on Twitch or YouTube, and but you can associate a specific branding depending on the destination. So a basic scenario would be that if the content is published in Germany with a German caster, you will have a German brand associated to the content, and we can generate that directly at the production level. So instead of providing multiple program stream with a localized content, we will adapt it directly at the source. So we'll make only one program and we'll insert the graphic to that and stream that to Twitch or YouTube gaming. And like this, we don't have to create multiple program streams, which is quite effective, and it gives the opportunity to the right owner or right holder to monetize the content multiple times to different sponsors, for example. And that's something that is very appreciated by our customers, for example. So once again, some specifics about how all that is done, thanks to some technology, and also how people in the esports industry are thinking out of any rules. They are very open-minded. Nothing is impossible for them, and digital offers new aspect and new possibilities, and it is very challenging for us, which is very passionate thing to do. A key element also in esports and in gaming is obviously a social network. Um, you cannot be in this community without using socials. Kids who are watching this content most of the time during the live they are watching, they are doing several things. They are playing themselves during the live. They are chatting with their friends. They are chatting on the Twitch or YouTube gaming. They are talking with friends. They are doing many things. So so it is important to keep the link with them during the live, and that's how actually they came up with the idea to create memes during the live to bring back the audience to the main screen. So during the live, if something important comes or happens, they will create a meme out of a clip or out of a picture of the game or whatever, publish that on the social, and all the viewers and fans will receive a tweet or whatever notification and saying what is happening in the game, and like this they will bring them back to the main screen. I think it's quite interesting to understand how they do and how it is necessary to do so, because this viewers audience is not captive as traditional sports. People who are used to watch a football game on TV will be catch from the kickoff till the last minute if the game is interesting. Here, their attention will not be 100% during captive during all the play. So that's why they need to find a mechanism to bring them back to the stream, to bring them back into the game. And technology in digital allows a lot of things about that. And of course, this is a key element to create the community, grow the community, keep the people inside and feel being part of this community. And once again, what is important is not when you see a lot of numbers in terms of viewers who watch something, as we saw at the beginning of the presentation. It is very important to understand that they do not consume the content as in traditional sports, and this has an impact, and this needs to be taken in account in terms of sponsorship, in terms of ROI, and so on. And it's a key element that needs to be shared, I believe. So we are reaching almost the end of the presentation. I will be happy to answer your questions if you have any, and I leave the floor to Anna.
Thank you very much, Guillaume. Great presentation. We'll turn on your camera so that we can go into the question and answer with the audience. And luckily, there's quite a few questions that have come in. And for those of you who are watching live, please feel free to add further questions during the next 10 minutes. So the first question that I'll take from the audience is relating back to Stephen's presentation on Monday. So Stephen mentioned in his presentation that ESL Gaming tends to build most of their own equipment and services for broadcast. So a lot of things are done in-house. But Guillaume, you'll be very happy to know that he did call out a few partners that ESL Gaming uses, including EVS. So why did ESL turn to EVS for their production requirements rather than using COTS hardware only?
That's a very good question, and that's something we are asked very often. I would say that the main reason is because they could produce with cheaper or more affordable equipment, let's say, because everybody knows that EVS is not the most cost-effective solution on the market. It is if you use it properly to produce and make a good production, but it's not necessarily the cheapest, I would say. But the main reason for that is because indeed we are cost effective. Because in order to do the production with our equipment compared to what you will do with other equipment, actually you will save a lot of individual components. In order to set up a workflow as complex as it is for an ESL1 or a Katowice Intel Extreme Master, you will, if you want to do that with more affordable equipment, actually you will need more equipment. You will add more single point of failure. You will have complexity in your workflow. So they looked at what we were doing in other traditional competitions, such as a big famous sport production, and they saw how effective we were with our equipment. And also we tried to be as flexible as we could with them to try to match with their requirements and expectations. That's where we started to work on how to recreate a slow motion with their constraints and stuff like that. And they really liked the cooperation and the partnership. So at the end, they made some savings thanks to the way they could do things and thanks to our equipment. And also they could also benefit from all the experience we have in live production in traditional sports, because as I said in one of my slides, at the end they need pretty much the same thing as a traditional sports. We need to make the storytelling and produce at the end in a very professional way.
So following on from that, another question around what do you think traditional sports can learn from the production or the broadcasting of esports? Are there things that you expect to see in traditional sports that are being pioneered on the esports side?
Yes, I believe this is the mixture of digital with traditional linear feed and all this mixture that esports is tackling all the time, that will benefit overall, because at the end their intent is to create content. The final screen that will receive its content is not the main purpose. It's just taking advantages of pros and cons of each one, of each technology available, and they are doing well at that. And so I think there is things to be learned from that, how to reach better the audience, be more flexible. Also, what is interesting is to see how they manage their community, and they are able to create their community. In traditional sport, I think they can learn from that as well. Because it is a key element. Everybody knows that as soon as you have a community that is fully committed with you, things will be better. So that's the kind of thing I think could be learned from this.
Thank you. Another question, going back to the sponsorship part of your presentation. Do you see digital insertion of sponsorship branding also becoming the norm in traditional sport? For example, it does allow customization for consumers in different territories. Any comment there?
Actually, there is a different initiative already in the broadcast industry with the LED panels on the field, where there is some companies who are working, graphic companies, to do ad insertion directly on those LED field screen. So of course, it's something that everybody would like to see in traditional sports. Of course, having a Premier League game with a UK sponsor when it is published in distributed in UK, and a German sponsor when it is distributed in Germany, will be very good and a good way to. But in esport or in gaming, they have it easy. It's easier for them because a digital platform offer much more flexibility in order to do that, and they have the full control of the gaming engine, which is a big difference of course, compared to other sports. But there is some initiative. I believe that's something that will be reinforced, knowing that this is happening in esports. Actually, this should motivate more and more people to do so.
Another question in a similar vein. So as you say, esports fans are digital natives whose platform of choice is online and social media. The traditional broadcasters are trying to win back a younger audience, but isn't this a bit late? Has the battle already been lost?
I don't have a crystal ball, so it will be difficult for me to be very precise on this, but my personal feeling is that it's never too late. You can always do your best to do so, because if you, at least you don't try, you're sure that this is too late. So I believe that, and we can see the result of those broadcaster channels who did invest in esports. They can see some return on investment. It's not huge, but we can see some good results. And anyhow, this younger generation will need to be catch at some point, and we need to reinvent something in order to get them, because if you look at teenagers, they never watch, almost never watch something in the living room. They always watch everything on their mobiles or tablets. And yeah, we must find ways to bring them back, or at least having our content, our traditional content, sport content, going to them. So esports is it's something that could maybe help in that matter, but hopefully, it's not too late.
Thank you. Next question. What changes are made to the program when esports are going to more traditional broadcasters to accommodate broadcasters' schedules or ad slots?
So that's why so far, at least it's what I've noticed, is that that's why they create their own channel, esports channel. Of course, they tried sometimes to insert some events into their more traditional sport, but most of the time they create their own esports channel. And so it's much more flexible, because the thing is that you can have important things. It depends also what kind of live events you want to publish. If it's only local events, so if in the States, for example, they have a lot of championship and tournaments going on their soul. On other countries, smaller countries, is not necessarily, the level of production is not necessarily as high. The community also is maybe less. But if you look in Asia, in South Korea, for example, or in China, they have a lot of content, so they can. It's worth having its own esports channel, and they are able to create their own agenda with that, and it gives more flexibility, and it's dedicated, it's branded, so the audience also feel more comfortable about going there, because they feel their environment and they feel the specific commentators, or it's and also the way advertisement is made is accommodated, because these soldiers don't like advertisement.
Thank you. Next question. Do you think because of COVID-19, we have seen a rise in esports from non-traditional audiences, not just the younger viewers who have helped the esports audience traditionally rise?
Yes, and it depends about games, but we saw it with NBA 2K, for example. So traditional NBA fans started to watch NBA 2K tournament, and NBA did create their own channel for that. And traditional fans were going after that, because first, that's where they could find some live content, but also because they could find the same their teams, their local teams they wanted to follow, and the representation of players, real players, is very real as well, and the quality of play of gamers is very good. So you could have the same kind of passion to hope that your team will win, even though it's just only one player playing for all the player on the field. But you can create the same empathy or tension and storytelling, I guess. And the people who were very fan about NBA were lacking so much NBA content that they were very happy to see that actually at the end.
Streaming is sometimes seen as a low revenue generator because so much of it is accessible free. Do you see this changing? Will viewers sign up to pay-per-view? And how do you see the media rights landscape for esports changing in the next few years?
So this was one of my slides. We can see that, yeah, of course, sponsorship is still the main source of revenue, but media rights starting to grow. And actually, the leagues, esports leagues, are really motivated to sell more and more rights because they want more and more viewers and grow their community. It is also their approach also is to have a low fee, and the trigger they have is that if you want to watch content, if you pay more, you will have less advertisement, but also you will have more chat capabilities, emojis, bank of emojis larger than the others. So they have, thanks to this chat capability, also other leverage to attract the viewers and make them pay, for example, on Twitch or YouTube gaming. For traditional broadcasters, it's a little bit different because they don't have this chat feature. But it's a matter of assembling a good package of content that the viewers will like to watch, and also the quality of casters. So a lot of people watch games because they also love to hear the caster, because he is creating the story. And this is key also. So this community always want to learn more to be better at playing. And that's something also that is very important, and that we are maybe lacking in traditional sports, because we are not describing necessarily a technical move. Of course, it happens, but it's not as detailed as it is in esports and in gaming. That's something maybe we can learn from them.
Next question. Do you see esports becoming more localized for local events such as qualifiers for national and international events, and thus expanding both the pathways for esports and the number of esports events?
If the community grow, yeah, definitely. The main challenge is that organizing local tournaments costs a lot of money. So you need a minimum of population to justify the investment of tournaments. It is also linked to I think I don't know if I lost anyone, so I'll keep on going.
Yeah, we've got you back again.
The quality of
you.
players is very important. We can see that there is already a big difference between Asia and Europe. Keep away the big strong team from Asia from winning everything in Europe or in the States. And so the localization also is a way to protect those teams and make the community, local community growing. Otherwise, they will be smashed by the big players of Asia because they are very, 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 they are, the numbers are bigger and they have a very good community there. Did
Thank
you
you.
hear everything from what I said? Because I lost you.
Yes, yeah, no, you're back again now. Thank you. And then the last question, which I like, you said that you've been in esports over the last 4 years. Do you have a favorite esport? And do you have a favorite player?
I try. Actually, it is very depending on what game you can understand. So if you play or not. So I will confess that I'm not a player. However, yeah, I like games where at least I will see I will be able to catch the difficulty and the technical aspect of it. But if I was a gamer, if I was playing myself, I guess strategic games such as League of Legends or Dota 2 or things like that will be maybe more captivating, but it's much more complex to enter in and understand all the aspect of the game. And to really, I made the comparison with cricket earlier on in my presentation because I don't know the rules of cricket, but everybody who knows cricket's rules really love cricket most of the time. So it's a matter of understanding the play and the challenges and the technical move and stuff like that. And the offering is so big in esports, and there is a lot of games, and that if you don't play at least one, it's difficult to be interested to the ones you don't play at. And that's very common to, if you interview gamers or viewers or esport viewers, most of the time it's what they're going to say. Their first answer will be, yeah, I don't watch this because I never played to it. The exception to that is very often Counter-Strike, because Counter-Strike is a very basic game. It's a shooting game, so the rules are very easy to understand.
Well, thank you, Guillaume. That comes to the end of our audience Q&A. A wonderful presentation and also wonderful answers during the Q&A time period. So I'd like to say thank you to all of our attendees who tuned in today or over the 3 days of this colloquium. Everything will be available on the Royal Television Society's YouTube channel. So if you missed any of the days or if you'd like to see the sessions again, please do tune in. On behalf of the Royal Television Society, it was my pleasure to host this esports broadcast colloquium, a fantastic 3 days of insights from industry leaders in esports and broadcasting. And I think an area that all of us will be following very closely in the years ahead. So a big thank you from myself and the Royal Television Society, and thanks to our audience for tuning in over the 3 days. Thanks.